Welcome everyone to Coffee with a Codex. My name is Dot Porter. I am a curator in the Schoenberg Institute for Manuscript Studies in the Kislak Center for Special Collections, Rare Books and Manuscripts at the University of Pennsylvania Libraries. Once a week for Coffee with a Codex, I take a manuscript off of our shelves and do just a quick 3-minute, very informal show and tell. This week is a little bit different because this is not a manuscript from our shelves. This is a manuscript that is well known to all of you, the Voynich Manuscript, which is held at Yale. And this is not, I was very clear in my PR for this. This is not the Voynich Manuscript, right? This is a facsimile. And there's a nice little note here about the facsimile, and there's also a certificate in the back that we can look at. It is, I have been told by Lisa Fagin Davis, who is my co-host today, the world's expert on the manuscript.
An expert, not the expert.
An expert, okay. An expert.
I would not be so presumptuous as to call myself
I'm presuming. The manuscript as a physical object. And so this facsimile is, I have been told, because I have not actually seen the Voynich manuscript in person, I have been told that this is pretty much identical.
Yes.
To the physical object.
The size,
except that
the structure, the little wormholes poked in the parchment. Yes, it is a fantastic reproduction.
Yes, only this one won't fall apart.
Right, exactly. The actual manuscript is extremely, extremely fragile. And it doesn't like to be handled because it is very, very fragile.
Yeah. So this is nice for us. I want to thank Harvard for letting me borrow this through interlibrary loan. So that was sort of very kind of them because I couldn't. I didn't know that. All right. Actually, before we get started, one thing. Usually. I watch the chat during the event and I answer questions as we go. I expect that because there's a lot more people than usual here, and I expect there's going to be a lot of stuff happening in the chat. So what I've done this time is I have implemented the Q&A function. So if you go, and Amy, thank you, Amy. Amy Hutchins is our manuscripts cataloging librarian, and she's going to be watching the chat. If you go to more, the more button down at the bottom of your screen, and you select Q&A, the Q&A should appear in your bottom menu. And if you have questions for us, please put them in Q&A. Don't type them in chat. You can chat in chat as much as you want. But questions for us should go in Q&A, and I'll try to keep my eyes on that. And we already have a question about the binding. And so let's go ahead and start looking at it because I've been talking for long enough. So here is the facsimile. Lisa, please tell us about
So this is a good reproduction of the actual binding. It's a little more sturdy, but the binding is in early modern limp vellum. It's not the original binding. Originally, it was bound in a sort of standard Gothic medieval binding sewn between boards. This binding, or the actual binding, is almost certainly from the 19th century and was done by the Jesuits in Rome, who owned the manuscript at the time. And the binding certainly matches the style of books that they bound at that time. So that's the actual manuscript. The front hinge is actually was left unsewn by the Yale conservator. So right in the middle there, in the real manuscript, you can actually open it and see the spine and the structure of the book, which is really cool.
Oh, that would be cool, which we can't see here, but I can lift it up and you can
but that tail band, there isn't really one today.
Yeah.
But it is a good reproduction of the style of the current binding.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to it. Turn the page.
Okay. Well, no, because there's more questions about who made it. It's Silo.
Oh, okay. Yes, Silhouette, it's very expensive. It's probably $7,000-8,000. I think it is a very, very high quality facsimile.
Yes.
And there were a limited number, but there is a collection of essays that they're going to be publishing soon to accompany the facsimile that I've contributed to.
Yeah. So here's the first page, and immediately I'm going to zoom in because
Yes,
we all want to
please.
see this. One of the things that makes this manuscript so inscrutable is that it is written in a script that is otherwise unknown and that nobody knows what what this is saying or even the language behind it, like both the
Yeah.
script and the language. Lisa, do you want to say a little more
Yeah,
about
so
that?
it there are somewhere between 25 and 30 different characters, depending on how you count them. But that's in sort of the Goldilocks zone for an alphabet. So if there were 350 characters, that would tell us one thing. If there were only 10 characters, that would be much too few for an actual alphabet. But it is right in that Goldilocks zone of alphabet-like language. And it also has rules. It has spelling rules and sort of grammatical rules. There are certain characters that always appear at the beginning and others that always appear at the end. And all the analytics that linguists and cryptologists have recently done suggests that it probably does represent a natural human language, whether it's encoded or transcribed or a lost language. We just don't know. We just don't know. And don't ask AI because AI cannot help you solve this problem because AI can only work with data that it has to work with, unless it's making things up. Wait, don't turn yet. There's one
Oh,
more thing I
okay.
want to point out.
Sorry.
At
Okay.
the bottom of this page, can you
Yes.
push it up a little bit? Yeah. So you see
Yeah.
that stain, that big stain across the bottom margin and in the
Right here.
outside margin.
Yeah.
Both of those were are because Mr. Voynich, for whom the manuscript is named, who was the bookseller who bought it in 1912, he thought that there were um, inscriptions there that could no longer be seen, and so he added a chemical reagent in the
Yeah.
late 1910s to try and read them. And so it left this permanent stain. And under ultraviolet light, you can actually read them. There's a signature at the bottom of Jacobus Tenapius, who was sort of an alchemist scientist type at the imperial court in Prague in the early 1600s, and we believe that he owned it. And on the right, there actually is evidence of an early attempt to decode the manuscript in handwriting I've identified as one of the other 17th century owners of the manuscript, Marcus Markey. And I did a whole blog post about it that people can go read if they want.
Yeah. I can see that there's
Yeah, it's
something
more visible
here.
at the top.
Is it
If you go all the way up to the top, you can sort of see that alphabet, A, B, C, D, E.
up here?
Yeah, just to the left. You can actually see the letters
Oh,
A,
yeah, yeah,
B,
yeah.
C,
I
D,
see that.
E
A, B, C, D,
going
E.
down the margin. And it actually is an
Yeah.
entire
Oh,
alphabet going all the way
oh,
down the page with Voynich letters next to it that you
ah,
can read. It's really cool. Yeah, and
yes.
they punched wormholes and everything.
Yep.
Okay, we can turn now.
Yep. Down here, the wormholes.
Yeah, it's so
And
cool. And it even reproduces the bifolia choir structure of the manuscript, which
yeah,
is really
which
cool.
is really cool and isn't something that is always done
Right.
in
Exactly. It's
in
part of
that.
what makes it such a spectacular facsimile because the structure of the manuscript is extremely important for understanding its history.
Yeah. So there is a question in Q&A from Kaylin. Were facsimile productions purely for academic purposes, or was there also a buyership among the 19th century public? So this
Well, this is a new
facsimile is
facsimile.
new.
This is
Yeah.
from maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah. So this is
Yeah,
very recent.
yeah, yeah.
There's
But the
also
whole
a question.
manuscript is digitized, high resolution, open access images on Yale's website. Anybody can go and download the images and explore them. But the great thing about a facsimile, as Dot knows, is that you get a sense, this is my own copy of the facsimile, of the materiality of the object. Look how small it is. People always think
Yeah.
it's bigger. It's the size of my face.
Yeah. There
It's
was a
not a,
little It's not a big manuscript. No, there was a
yeah.
little bit in the, I did see the chat. There were some folks talking about the size. I expected it to be bigger too. When I first got it, I was like, this is a little thing.
Yeah.
Um, there's a question about the leaf markings. So
Yeah,
the
turn
leaf
the page
markings,
and you'll see.
yeah,
There it
it's
is.
just show through.
Yep. Yep.
Um, So
But
this
there are also offsets. So there's a lot going on materially. There are offsets, there are show through, there are things that appear only under ultraviolet light. There's all sorts of evidence here to look
Yeah,
at.
so, and I
And
think
these crazy
we'll be
plants.
seeing a lot. So the first section is an herbal,
Yeah,
which
for sure.
means that there are, it's plants with text that's presumably about the plants. And this is a very well-known genre
Yeah,
of manuscript.
very popular.
I
Yeah.
have one here, and I'm actually going to show you just very quickly
And this is a real
because
manuscript.
yes, this is a real, this is the one we're going to be looking at on September 4th. So this is a 15th century Italian herbal. Some folks in the chat know this manuscript very well. It's pretty well known. And you can see there are plants that don't necessarily look like plants that you see out in the world. And then there's text written. In this case, this is written in Italian. But this is just a couple of looks at this. So when I look at this part of the Voynich, I'm like, oh yeah, that's an herbal.
Yeah,
You know,
and it's more
I
than
just
half
keep,
the manuscript. It's
yeah,
the most significant portion of the manuscript are
yeah,
all of these totally crazy plants with roots and stems and leaves and flowers. And people have been working on trying to identify these for 100 years. Reams and reams of online discussion about people arguing over what kind of plants these are, and nobody can really agree. Some of them are just so fantastical, it's hard to believe that they could possibly be actual real plants.
yeah. And I believe that there's been a lot of comparison too with other herbals.
Yeah.
And so they don't resemble the plants from like LJS 419. Whereas if you look at LJS 419 and other herbals, you're going to see the same plants
Yeah,
in
exactly.
those copied from each other.
If you
So these
jump over to page 13, does that
13. Here we go.
yeah, look at that. What do you see there? Look at in the
Oh,
gutter.
oh, look, there's a stub.
Yeah, page 12, folio 12 has gone missing. And
It's been
so
cut
if you
out.
turn back, it's folio 11. So actually,
Ah,
that tells us that the foliation was added first, and then the leaves that are missing were removed because they skip the foliation.
yes, interesting. And we
Uh,
don't know when or what
well,
happened to
I know
that.
it
When it
happened
was,
after the folio numbers were added. That's all
right.
I know for sure. And that
Do we
was
know
in
when the folio
these,
numbers were added?
they're 17th century.
Okay, 17th
The
century.
style of the numbers in the upper margin there is 17th century.
Yeah. And there's been a question about what material this is. So the original manuscript is on parchment, right?
Yeah, it's on calfskin. Yeah,
Yeah.
they did some
They
DNA
did
analysis
DNA.
that showed the species. I think
Yes.
maybe not all, some of it might be sheep, but most of it's calf, if not all of it,
Yeah. But this
which is typical.
is,
That doesn't help us narrow down where it came from. If it had been goat, that would have helped make the case for Italy, but it's not goat skin.
yeah.
It's sheep or calf, which is so
Yeah.
common that it's not helpful. Look
And
at
this
that.
is
Yeah, there
actually,
was a repair there. Someone
yeah.
sewed up that hole, and then
Yeah.
the stitching disappeared.
And so this is showing us that this original was on parchment because you don't see this, you would not see this on paper. This is on
Yeah.
paper. This is
Yeah,
paper.
it's this special kind of plastic that
Yeah.
they make the facsimiles out of. I don't know what it is. All
Yeah.
right, jump
So
over to 32 verso.
32 verso. So I'm going to go a little, I'm not
We
going to
want to
skip
make sure
every
we get
page
through the
because
whole book.
we want to get through the whole book and I also want to see the whole book. But you can go online and see the digital,
Yeah.
the digital version. So
Oh,
30,
wait,
did you
where
say
you just put your finger, go back to where your left middle finger is sticking. Yeah, there.
there?
So if you go to
Okay.
the top, you can actually see there's a really nice offset of the
Oh,
flower
right.
in the upper right corner appears in mirror image on the left. And that's because the parchment got wet at some point and left that offset. There are lots of offsets all over the manuscript that are really useful and interesting. And some
Yes.
of them don't match the current sequence of pages. And in fact, when I give this talk in Toronto, I'm going to be making a case about how I believe that the manuscript is almost certainly out of order, and I have thoughts about how to put it back in the right order.
Yes.
So that's a little tease about what's coming when I give my paper in Toronto.
Yes. So Brian, and again, I'm looking at the chat. Brian, who is my buddy Brian, he says we have a whole hour. I think he's
All right.
encouraging
We
us
won't
to
go
slow
too fast,
down.
but we got to see everything.
But we do want to see everything. That was what I
Yes.
was
All right.
going to
So
say.
go to 32 verso.
32 verso. All right.
Yeah, here. This is a
32.
good page
So
to look at.
32, for those of you who don't know, I think you probably all do, 32 recto is the front of the page, and 32 verso is the back of the page. So here we are, 32
So
verso.
a few things worth noting. So we have another offset in the center left margin of folio 33 recto. There's a inverted mirror image of the flower. Do you see that? So if you look in 33 recto and up near the top in the center, so go to the left, keep going, there,
There.
right? So that's
Oh,
an offset of the flower further to the left on the verso. See that? Not that one, the middle one. That one.
this one.
Yeah. Nope, down and to the right.
This one.
That one. Yes.
Yes, that
But
makes
when you
more sense.
close the book, it leaves a mirror.
Oh,
left
yeah,
mirror
yeah.
image.
I see what you're.
That's all. Yeah. But the main thing to look at, if we go down to the bottom left, can you slide up a little bit?
Oh, right.
There we go.
Yes.
See that number in the bottom right corner of the verso? Those are choir numbers. So when the book was
Oh.
bound, somebody added these numbers. That actually says quartus. That's a 4 with an us superscript. So it's the end of the
Okay.
fourth choir. So that's really helpful too for understanding the structure of the manuscript, those choir numbers.
Yes. And
Yeah,
someone,
that one has those funny little faces at the, yeah. Some of the plants have like little faces and little animals. It's so
yeah,
much fun.
which again is something that you also see in LJS 419 and other
Yeah.
manuscripts. So Brianna is asking about catchwords.
No,
Are
there are
there
no
no
catchwords.
catchwords?
No catchwords.
But there are the choir
Yeah.
numbering,
And in
which
fact, I'm fairly certain that the choir numbers were added later when the manuscript was misbound. That's seems to make the most sense to me.
they look similar in style to the
They're a little bit
page
earlier
numbering.
than the
Okay.
foliation,
Okay.
but they're both later additions. My favorite, oh, I love this one on the left. Look at that. Look at those weird root balls. They're so
They're
weird.
and
Down at the
these
bottom.
flowers are very
It looks like a
strange.
sunflower, sort of,
Balls.
right?
It does
And
kind of
it's,
look like a
yeah,
sunflower,
but it has these weird
but
roots,
weird.
these weird circular roots. There's a nice hole on the right side of the right side page. Look at that hole in the parchment that the
Yeah.
artist worked around. Is that
Yeah,
cool?
which is
They
great.
literally designed the roots so that the
To
hole in the
go around
parchment
the
would be
hole.
in the middle.
And the same on this side,
Yeah, isn't that
on
cool?
both sides.
So they were really paying attention to the flaws in the parchment and incorporating them into them. My favorite plant is on 50 recto.
50 recto. We'll get there.
Yep.
It's very strange. And it is, I gotta say, this is a lot neater than I've looked at the digital images before,
Yep.
and I feel like this is more fun.
Oh, it totally is. Oh, wait, stop. This is something else I need to point out. This is super, super important. Right on here. Look at the script on the right versus the script on the left. They're
It
really
looks
different,
different.
right? The
Yes.
one on the right is more widely spaced and a little neater, more legible, as it were. The one on the left is really cramped and has sort of a slightly upward slant. And that's part of the work that I've done in identifying how many scribes there are. So everyone has known since the 1970s that these two scribes are different. So we've got scribe 1 on the right, scribe 2 on the left, and then in my own work, I published in 2020 in Sims Journal, Manuscript Studies, where I identified 5 scribes and kind of laid out how their work maps onto the manuscript, which is also important for understanding the structure and the history of the manuscript.
Mm-hmm. That's very neat. And then I'm noticing, so we've got this scribe here, and then there's this scribe, and then I turn the page, and there's this scribe, and then we go back to this looks like the previous scribe.
Yep. Yep.
So
Isn't that
as
insane?
someone, yeah,
It's wacko.
yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
like, as someone who like looks at a lot of manuscripts, this is very strange.
Yeah, it's crazy. And in fact,
Um,
if you actually map the work of the scribes onto the bifolia structure, you learn that each bifolium is by a scribe. So you might have a bifolium in the choir. The work alternates by bifolia, which is totally insane and is part of the argument that the bifolia are all mixed up and not in the right order.
yeah, there, there's there's a lot going on. Sorry, you said your favorite plant.
Oh,
I'm gonna go. Oh,
50 recto. Look at that. It looks like Audrey from Little Shop of Horrors
it does.
with a nice hole in the middle.
Yeah, the artist really seems to like these sort of very round, like there's a lot of round that I'm seeing.
Yeah, and it's so that one looks to me like it could literally walk off the page and eat your face, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
that was terrifying.
No, that's really good. So since we came across another hole, there's a question from one of your former students at Simmons, Lisa. Um, does the fact that the parchment has flaws tell us anything about the community that created this?
It definitely does. That's such a great question. Thank you. Yes, because if it were a really high-end, fancy, expensive manuscript, they would not keep flawed parchment. They would trim it and only use the clean, unflawed parchment. So here they're trying to be efficient because parchment is not exactly a renewable resource unless you reuse old parchment. But if you're making new parchment, you got to kill a perfectly good animal to do that. And so you want to be as efficient as possible, especially if your resources are limited. So it does tell you that the manuscript was not made for royalty or someone super wealthy. But I mean, look at it. It's a mess. It's obviously
Yeah.
not made for royalty. It's made as to be used, to be like a reference.
Yeah. And in addition, I haven't pointed it out, but as we've been going through, like here, it
Yeah.
uses
Yep.
the edges of the parchment. The leaves are all
Exactly.
different sizes. Some of
Yep.
them, here's another little bit that's been sewn, but they're not even bothering to sew some of them.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
scrappy little thing. Look at that crazy plant with all the
I
colors
was,
on the
I
right
was,
there. That's just insane. And some of it looks like they didn't paint. They forgot to color in the bit at the top there.
yeah. No,
There's
these
also
are,
some work being done now by different people on trying to figure out how many artists there are, which is a much more difficult task.
oh,
It does seem to me, at least from my own work, that the in the herbal section, the scribes did their own work. The scribes and artists are the same person,
oh,
but we don't know for sure.
right. So a couple of people have asked if there's been any kind of analysis of the ink. Do we know
There
what the ink
has.
is made
There's
of?
been both, but there's been analysis, chemical analysis of the ink and pigments. Those reports are available on Yale's website. Anyone can download them, and those did not find anything suspicious. For example, if you were to look at the inks and pigments used by someone like the Spanish forger, you would find that the green has a really, really high arsenic component, which proved it was a modern pigment. None of that has been found in the Voynich. You can't prove that it's not modern ink, but you can prove it is. And there's been nothing found that proves that it's modern. And the same for the parchment. The parchment's been carbon dated to the early 1400s. But all that actually means is that the animals who gave us the parchment were slaughtered and stopped growing in the early 15th century. So those two things are not themselves absolute proof that it is an authentic 15th century manuscript, but combined with all the other evidence we have, it seems that it almost certainly is. I see a message from Barbara. Hi, Barbara. Was it made outside of Europe or parchment was available? Almost certainly not. It almost certainly is a European manuscript, and we'll see why when we get to the next section of the manuscript.
Does it start here? I was
No, a
curious
few
about
more,
that.
few more.
No?
There's keep going. There are a few more
Okay.
plants before
There
we
are
get to
plants.
the
I just
next
think
part.
it's interesting that there's this
Yep.
diagram.
So this is this mixing of bifolia in unusual ways.
Ah, I
So like
see.
if
I
you go
see.
back one page or go back two at this point, go back there. Yeah. So right in the middle, we should have sewing there. There's
Yes.
some sewing there.
Yes,
Yeah. So
there's
that's a
sewing there.
bifolium. And so we've got
Oh,
these. This is
so
another example of this
so
sort of mixing up of bifolia in
yeah. So this
unusual ways.
sheet, this is one sheet. And here's another sheet
Yeah,
here and here.
exactly.
Ah, and
And
then
there were
this.
three more in the middle that have gone missing. Three more
Ah, okay.
bifolia between in that choir. Okay,
Okay.
so this part is really cool. Wait, no, don't get to the fish yet. Go
Okay.
back one. Go back
Go
one
back
page.
one. I'm back. Here we
There,
go.
and you can open that up. Open up that
Right.
fold out.
Open it up. I haven't done this before. All right.
Yep,
Oh, here we go.
there it is.
There we go.
Look at that. That's insane too. That's really rare in a medieval manuscript to have pages
Yes.
that fold out like this. And this is where the facsimile is so much better in some ways than the actual manuscript, because you can't open the foldouts in the actual manuscript anymore. They're just too fragile, too fragile. Anyway, the so in this section, you've got all of these stars and moons and suns, these kind of cosmological diagrams. Who knows what they might be? And there are several foldouts like this. So if you flip it over, you'll see another one.
Right. So here's on the other side.
And then the one where your thumb is also opens.
Yes,
It's
I
very
will. I was
dramatic.
going to fold. Should I keep this folded
Yeah,
out
leave that
or?
open. Open all of them.
Okay.
Open
All right.
the one there too, so we can
All
see
right.
them all
I'm just
together.
gonna do this. Yeah, and regarding foldouts, I mean, we have a manuscript from Germany from the same sort of time that also has foldouts. So not this big.
Yeah, it's really something,
But
right?
they're really, wow. All right.
Yeah,
So
they're
this
really
is,
cool.
oops,
And this is also something you can't really get a sense of if you're just
yeah,
looking at the images
at
online.
the images. So this would be, all
Yeah, I
right.
mean, they really
So,
are manipulatable, when you have the facsimile in
ah,
front of you in a really
I'm gonna
cool
try
way.
to, here we
Oh,
go.
wait, look at that cluster of stars right there in the middle that you were just looking at. Uh, Go up. All right, now to the on the right-hand side,
On this right-hand page.
yeah, there's a little cluster of stars in the upper left. So it like,
Here?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
7 stars. Is that the Pleiades? Maybe,
Oh,
maybe not. Who knows, right?
is
So
that
that's
what
cool.
they, cool. And some of these, so there's like clusters of stars, and then these ones have labels on them.
They have labels, and that has been a point of departure for a lot of people who are studying the language of the manuscript. Are those star names? Maybe.
Yeah.
Is that in what culture, right? So those labels are an interesting facet of the manuscript that are a good piece of evidence if you're doing linguistic work. They're a good place to start.
Yeah. So there's a couple of questions about the structure of these foldouts.
Yep,
Are they all one piece or are
yep.
they
They're
attached?
single, it's a single sheet. Yeah, a very large
Yeah.
single sheets.
So are these, so I'm looking in the structure here.
Yep.
It
Okay, so
looks like,
here's what happened there. That is a 20th century intervention that
okay.
was inserted, I believe, by Hans Krause's conservator to stabilize and support the gutter. So all of this is one big sheet from left to right, all these 5 panels,
Hmm.
and sewn through the middle, but the sewing had weakened the gutter. And so when Hans Krause owned the manuscript in the 1960s, his conservator added those vellum strips to help support some of the gutters.
Got it. So this is all one piece, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
it's all one
Okay.
large sheet of parchment.
That's what I thought when I peek in here, it's all one
Yeah.
piece in the facsimile as well. So that's
Yeah, I mean, it's
that's
great
pretty
that
cool.
they included those gutter supports in the facsimile. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah. And there's another question. Are there any of the concentric spheres that we're looking at related to the usual medieval structure of the cosmos, or are they're all
Not really,
wacky? Yeah.
not in any obvious way. I mean, there are reams and reams of blog posts and posts on various discussion forums about how one might interpret these. There are a few TO maps. There's one in the center of one of these diagrams that in that one looks like the COVID virus on the left there. Who knows? Who knows what any of these actually are?
Yeah.
William
There's a lot
Newbold,
of
who published the first solution to the manuscript in 1921, claimed, and he was a Penn professor who was later completely debunked in the pages of Speculum, I'm sorry to say. And
it's all right.
he claimed that the manuscript was written by Roger Bacon and that Roger Bacon had invented both the telescope and the microscope, which was proven by those diagrams.
Interesting.
Then we get to the Zodiac. So we have all of these. The next section are these circular diagrams, sign of the Zodiac, the Western Zodiac. That's a really important piece of evidence. It's a Western Zodiac iconography. Two of them are missing at the end because a page has gone missing, and some of them are duplicated, like on here, right there. Those two on the right are both Aries. So it goes
Yep.
Pisces, then there's two Aries. But if you look, you can see that the Aries, it actually only has half the number of ladies in the baskets for each one. On the left, for Pisces, there are, I think, 30. But these, for Aries, it's split in half. Who knows why? Maybe it's prognostication or astrological computation. Nobody really knows yet how these diagrams are supposed to function, but there's one for every zodiac. But there are two for Aries and two for Taurus, and then the two at the end have gone missing. And it
So
starts with
let's,
Pisces, which is also weird.
yeah. And then so
And
here's,
actually, if you go to June, oh, there, no, that's good. Look at the Gemini there. So the man and the woman there, that's Gemini.
yeah.
If you zoom in, we get another clue, which is that they're wearing European style clothing. Definitely early 15th century Western European clothing. So that's, more evidence about that the manuscript is almost certainly from the 15th century and from Europe.
Yep. All right.
All right. And then once we get through all of the zodiacs, so that on the right, that's supposed to be Scorpio.
Oh
Believe it or
my.
not.
It looks kind of like an alligator or something.
Yeah, you sometimes Scorpio is often maligned in medieval manuscripts. It's the scorpion. A lot of people, I think, had never actually seen a scorpion, but that's
Yes.
what that's supposed to be. And then Sagittarius is good because he's holding a medieval crossbow and
Oh, he
wearing
is.
very medieval
Look
clothing.
at that.
So
I'm
that's
actually
kind of
gonna
cool.
I'm actually gonna zoom in on him
Yeah,
because
look at him. Look at our little archer there for Sagittarius. And
that's
someone later on wrote in the names of the months. See how it says October there? And that's a very kind of Romance language version of the name of the month. So that tells you, but that's later than the manuscript. That was added a little bit later. And so that tells you something about the history of the manuscript, that it
right.
may have been in France or Spain or somewhere in those regions a little bit later in its history.
Yeah. And then
This is the
there's
best
this,
part.
which is like completely, there is not like the other two sections, I can look at them and I can be like, all right, like
Yeah,
I can kind of see how these are related to other things I've looked at. This is like
absolutely.
completely inscrutable
This
to
is
me.
totally insane, right? This is totally insane. So we've got a bunch of pages here with all this heavy, lots and lots of text, illustrated by naked ladies in green and blue pools. In some of the bifolia, and then other bifolia actually are more biological. So if you turn the page, there we go. Look at that upper left.
I'm gonna zoom in so you
I
guys
mean,
can
are
see.
those not, is that not a uterus and fallopian tubes and ovaries? I mean, come on.
It really looks like one.
Isn't that cool? So
Yeah.
maybe it has something to do with women's health, gynecology, medicinal bathing, which was a thing. And also on the left, on that underneath the fallopian tubes, there's like some kind of small intestine on the right there in the margin, in the gutter, I mean. What's
Yeah.
happening
Let's see
there?
if I can.
Is that urine? Who knows what's happening? So I love this section. It's such a mystery, and people have all sorts of ideas about how to interpret what's going on here.
Does this lady have two right arms?
Yeah, I wouldn't put too much stock in the skill of
Okay.
of this artist. There's a lot of sort of weird, awkward things, and yeah, it's hard to know what's happening there.
That's so neat, though.
Yeah, this
I
whole
love it.
section is just so cool.
It's very cool. All right, so I'll zoom back out and sort of page through it so we can see more of this. And again, it's digitized online, so if you see a
Yeah.
page you really love, you can download it and keep it.
Oh yeah, if you go on Redbubble, there is so much Voynich merch. It's amazing. Blankets, ties, scarves, earrings, pretty much anything you want. Now,
Yeah.
this is a cool page. So if you look on Folio 81 Recto, at the middle in the gutter, there, see those two streams that
Yep.
are headed towards the gutter? If you go back 2 pages, 2 leaves to the
Two leaves. So
conjoint.
one,
So that's the
two.
middle. Here's the conjoint. Look,
Look,
there they come out the other side. So
that's so
that's
cool.
more evidence that the bifolia are not in the right order. Those 2 pages should be consecutive, not just conjoint, because the illustration crosses the border to come out, the gutter to come out on the other side. It's very cool. There are a few
That's
other
very cool.
places where it happens, but not quite as obvious.
This is this is so weird.
It's true, but it's
It's
amazing. It's
very,
completely amazing.
very cool.
And then the next section is really going to blow your mind when we get there.
We'll get
Your
there.
mind is not already blown enough.
I'm taking my time.
Absolutely. Every one of these pages. People talk a lot here about the Trotula, the medieval women's health treatise written by a female physician in Spain. So there is sort of a sense here that maybe it has something to do with women's health. Now, Folio 85. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Turn the page.
Okay.
Turn the
Oh,
page. Okay, now
oh,
open that,
oh,
and
this
open
is
it
big.
again.
Okay. So now we're opening it up. Oh,
Yeah, look at
and
that.
and if I did this with the real thing, it would fall apart, right?
Correct. You can't do this with the real thing anymore.
Oh,
Oh, what
wow.
is happening? Right. Totally insane. Can we back it up so we can see the whole thing, or is it too big?
Yeah. Oh, hold on.
Yes, Brian in the chat writes, wow, which is about right. This also is something that's just completely unique. I've never seen anything like this.
All
So
right.
we've
This is
got
as
this.
far as we can go.
Okay, so it's one giant sheet of parchment that is basically 3 times the size of the actual book opening. And
Yeah.
it's just people, again, this is one of those things that people really can dig into, and you can kind of see what you want in it. It's kind of a Rorschach test. People interpret it in ways that support their own interpretation of the manuscript because it's so bizarre. It has tiny, tiny writing written. It's almost like micrography written in spirals. Oh, wait, here's what we need to do. Go to the upper right corner and zoom in.
Upper right.
Yeah, yeah, there. Zoom into
Okay.
the center of that circular bit. Richard is Santa Coloma, who is posting in the chat, has a theory that the manuscript is a modern forgery. And he writes, how do you explain the anachronistic foldouts? I don't. They're anachronistic. They're ahead of their time. They're unique. Only 10% of all manuscripts have survived to the present day. So there's quite a lot out there that seems unique now that might not have been if we could find the other 95% of manuscripts that didn't survive to the present day. So
Yeah.
that doesn't
And
trouble
someone
me.
in the Q&A says not a question, but people who prepared charters use large sheets of parchment. So it's
Sure.
not like large sheets of parchment weren't
Right.
around.
It's the this big fold out in the context of a, of a thing. And,
Yeah.
Richard has spent a lot of time on this question and has a lot of points to make. And you can visit his website and learn more about his work. So, if you look, right, see that little building in the circle? Yeah, right there. Stop, stop, stop. On the left, there's a
Yes.
structure. And I
It
don't know
looks
if
like
you
a
can rotate
little
the view
castle
so
or
it's right
something.
side up. First of all, I love how the writing, yeah, I love how the writing is in a spiral. For one thing, I think that's really beautiful. So look at that castle, that little drawing there. It has these crenellations that are really distinctive architecturally. They're called swallowtail merlins or Ghibelline merlins. And they are found almost exclusively south of the Alps and north of the Mediterranean. So, right in that sort of northern coast of the Mediterranean, and in particular in northern Italy and parts of southern Germany a little bit later. And so that's more evidence that puts us in a European context. Isn't it cute?
It's very cute. I
I
also
love
want
that
to,
little castle.
I want to look
Am I
down. Oops.
am I frozen?
No?
Am
Are
I all
you?
right?
I can hear you. Your video is frozen,
Okay.
but I can hear you okay.
Nope, I think I'm good.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, I'm just showing these other
Okay,
parts.
maybe I'll turn it off just in case.
I feel like something about this feels a little Eastern, like Arabic, like Middle Eastern to me. I don't know, but like those little,
It does have kind of an Islamic influence,
yeah,
maybe a little bit. It sort of
feels
does
like
feel
that.
that
But
way.
it's
But again,
entirely
I feel like with
vibes.
this in particular, it can mean almost anything you want. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it can mean almost anything you want it to because it's so unusual, but beautiful.
Oh,
I love this one. It almost looks like, people talk about Hildegard of Bingen too. It looks an awful lot like the Scivias in some ways.
yeah. All right. I'm gonna try to. Ooh. All right. There we go. And then we've got what? More
More
plants.
plants, like we didn't have enough. So this section
Or
is sort of mixed up by folia that I think are belong elsewhere. So on the right, we have these you have these sort of containers and a bunch of roots and leaves that maybe they're recipes of some kind. You take this root and that leaf and you combine them in this way in this receptacle and you get, I don't know, some kind of medicine or something. Who knows? But there are a lot
oh,
of them.
here's another
Yeah, and some of
example of
the
that.
components of the roots and the leaves can be identified in the actual plant pages, which is cool.
Oh, that's neat. So
Yeah,
the
there are
plant
sort of these
pages and then these are
callbacks.
like
Yeah,
recipes.
yeah. And then some more plants. That's a big stain.
Yeah. Or weird. They really are weird.
They are. They're just bizarre. Yeah. But some of them I think are really beautifully done,
Hmm.
whether regardless of whether they actual represent actual real things or not. And then some more of these kind of pharmaceutical or
Yes.
recipe pages.
Yeah.
And then we
There's a
get to
question.
the very last section. I mean, look at that one. That page is kind of a mess.
Yeah.
Something's been cut away at the bottom.
Someone is asking in Q&A if there are new colors in this section that weren't in the other sections, and I don't.
So we haven't had a really, really detailed analysis of the pigments in terms of which pigments appear where. That's a really big, complicated job to actually do the testing on every single page. And so I don't think that's going to happen. So I couldn't tell you if they're actually different pigments or just the same ones being used in different ways. That big rust stain is really something too.
Yeah, here it's like
Yeah.
something was closed, something
Yeah.
metal was
Yeah. Whatever
closed
that
in
was,
there.
rust or blood, who the hell knows?
Yeah.
And then the very last section of the manuscript is this next part with just pages and pages and pages of text, set off by these stars at the beginning of the paragraphs. Just goes on and on and on for I think there are 12, but two leaves are missing, so there were originally 14 of them, which is a lot. And then you have at the very end a blank. So that was almost certainly originally the end of the manuscript. But if you zoom in, you will see the part of the
Oh,
manuscript that in some ways has generated the most conversation,
and that's whatever is written at the top.
whatever is written at the top. So if you zoom, can we zoom in a little?
This is as close as I can zoom. I
Oh,
can
okay,
lift it
that's
up
fine.
though.
So you can see there are 3 lines of text, a fourth one at the very top that's kind of faded, and some of these little doodles of an animal and another one of the naked ladies. People have really gone to town on this. So there are some people who think this is the secret to understanding the entire manuscript. Some people who think it's, some kind of a magical incantation. It's definitely not written by one of the scribes of the manuscript. I'm pretty sure it's a slightly later edition, but it does use some Voynichese characters, but it also has kind of a Germanic feeling to it when you actually look at
Mm-hmm.
the words. Like the
Yeah.
very last word, it looks like it says "geis mich" or something like that. And so it looks like it's maybe a later edition, maybe that happens in a Germanic area, but we still don't know. The fact that it has all those little crosses suggests that it might be some kind of a prayer or incantation. But again, we just don't know. And online, you will find lots and lots and lots of information. Kaylin asked, could it be an ownership indication? I think not, because you wouldn't find at that early period an ownership inscription in the back. It would be in the front, and it's not a colophon. I'm
And we
pretty
have
sure
another
it's
little naked lady here
and
and
another
some kind
naked
of
lady,
animal
little animal. Yeah.
there.
And that, my friends, is the Voynich manuscript.
Yay. So
Now go
there
solve it.
are
Go
that
solve it. So
so
if
there's
you are interested in learning more and you just Google the Voynich manuscript, you're going to go down a rabbit hole of unreliable information. Let me put it that way. And so Amy, I think, is going to put in the chat again some links that I sent that will lead you to reliable and trustworthy resources, including the Voynich Ninja Forum, which is a really great forum. There are probably hundreds of people who post there regularly, lots of discussion about every facet of the manuscript. So that if you have a theory about the manuscript, please do not send it to me. I am not the arbiter of Voynich solutions. I used to do that, but I don't anymore. And the best thing to do with your Voynich solution is post it on Voynich Ninja or one of the other public forums, and lots of people will comment on it. Believe me, people will look at your solution and give it attention. There is not a monetary prize being offered to solve the manuscript. Some people think there is. There is not. Yale does not want to see your solution. No one at Yale will read it. They have no skin in the game. They are the custodians of the object. They will take care of it, but they are not here to judge solutions. So it does no good to send anything to Yale, or and don't send anything to me, please. I have over 100 Voynich solutions in my inbox right now, and I don't have time to read them and review them. So I would recommend that if you have one of your own, that's the place to start. And Ray Clemens edited a collection of essays and a photo facsimile of the manuscript that we also put a link to in the chat. It's only, I think, it's really cheap. It's like $35, and it's really, really good. It's a great, great introduction to the manuscript. Definitely, definitely recommend that. And then I think there's also a link to the lecture that I'm going to give in a few weeks.
yeah. So there was a question about from Carolyn, are there other types of manuscripts that have those writing layouts. And I opened here because I think she's talking about these sorts of spiral, like the writing around and the spirals.
Uh, yes, but it's not common. So
Yeah.
it's certainly done in Hebrew manuscripts. You find it in Arabic manuscripts where the calligraphy is part of the decor.
Hmm.
It doesn't really occur in Latin that I've seen, or if it does, it's very rare. But I love how the writing becomes part of the graphic component of the page. I just think some of these pages I think are so beautiful.
Yes. So we moved quickly. So we still have 7 minutes, guys.
All
So
right,
if you
so go
have,
back to things that struck you and we can talk about them.
yes. If anyone has anything in particular you want to take a closer look at since we have the book out.
So there is some discussion in the chat on a really important question, which is it actually authentic or is it just a joke? Is it nonsense? Does it have meaning? And opinions really vary, and we really don't know absolutely for sure. My own feeling, I've examined the manuscript at least a dozen times. I've spent hours and hours with it. I have not seen anything to suggest that it is anything other than an authentic 15th century manuscript. All of the structure, the sewing, the binding evidence, the provenance evidence, the later inscriptions, all the additions. There's so much in this manuscript, not to mention the carbon 14 that dates the parchment to that early. There is nothing. You can't, so Brian says we need proof, not feelings. You can't prove it's authentic. You can't. That's not possible. You cannot prove that it is not a forgery. You could prove it is a forgery, but nothing so far has done that. There is nothing that proves it is a forgery or gibberish or nonsense. There's a lot of evidence, on the other hand, that it is authentic and that it has semantic meaning and structure to the language. Not everybody agrees with that. Again, if you go on the forums, you will see a lot of debate. And so Brian says, I believe it's authentic, but I think it's a scam. Oh, I don't know what that means. What do you mean? That someone put all of this time and effort to trick someone into spending a lot of money on a fake manuscript?
It's not a,
That
that
doesn't
it's
hold water for me. That just doesn't make sense considering
it's
the time it
yeah.
would have taken to create. Well, there were so many less expensive and less complicated ways you could have done that. I mean, it's a big, complicated and diverse and fascinating object. And it just doesn't make sense to me to imagine that the whole thing was just made up out of somebody's head. It just the evidence that argument doesn't hold water, I think, when you dig
Yeah.
into it too deeply.
And
But
I
you
think
can't, but you really literally you cannot prove that a manuscript is authentic. It can't be done, right? It can't. All you can do is prove it isn't. And no one yet has been able to prove it isn't. If the evidence comes along that proves it's a meaningless or modern, I'm perfectly happy to have my mind changed if that's where the evidence leads. But currently, the evidence does not lead there. So
yeah. And if I feel like this is not, I mean, like if you were going to make a manuscript for people to spend a lot of money on, you would make a beautiful manuscript,
yeah,
like in the 15th century.
yeah,
Like within the context of the 15th century, this is not a manuscript that people would have been falling them over themselves
right.
to
Right,
buy.
exactly. And if you were trying to scam someone like Holy Roman Emperor Rudolph II, who we think owned the manuscript in the early 1600s, who was really interested in magic and alchemy and things like that, this is not if you were going to fake a manuscript to sell to him, this would not be it, right? It's not magical enough. It's not alchemical enough. It's not full of obvious, secrets that would have, you can see how it would have appealed to him to buy it for part of his collection. But to actually go through the time and effort to make it as to try and sell it as a scam, it just doesn't make sense to me. And is it remotely possible? Sure, everything is remotely possible, but I think it is exceedingly unlikely. And the same for the argument that it's a modern forgery. When you look at all of the components, the layers of history, the erased inscriptions, all of these layers of provenance and additions and history and the different styles of handwriting and the additions, it's impossible to imagine. Not to mention the evidence of older binding structures. You can't invent that. You can't invent using authentic 15th century thread and then adding on top of that layers of repairs. It just doesn't make sense. There's just too much authentic evidence.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's possible that someone would do that, but I would want to shake their hand. Like,
well, yeah,
how
somebody
crazy
did.
that
It's
would
very
be.
impressive.
I mean, if it was a
Yeah.
if it was a fake.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we have like 1 minute. Samuel asks, is there anything analogous to this even in part?
Well, there
Really?
are herbals, yes.
Right?
There
Which
are, sure, there are
we looked at.
prognostication manuals that have circular diagrams with Zodiac in the middle. There are treatises on balneology, on the science of medical bathing. Yeah, all of the different pieces, except for the big fold out in the middle, and the text at the end, have analogous manuscripts. And when you piece all of that together, it starts to look like it's some sort of scientific compendium of scientific knowledge.
And then the last question, Shreve Simpson, hi Shreve, asks, could the botanical illustrations have been painted before the text was written?
They were. They
Yeah.
definitely were, but I think at the same time,
Right.
the pictures go down on the page first, and then the text is added. But I don't see any reason to think they're not contemporary with one another, if that's what
Yeah,
you're
and you
asking.
can see that here that the text is
Yeah,
written around
yeah,
and also down
exactly,
here. All
exactly.
right. So
Dot, this was
so
super fun.
thank you. Thank you, Lisa. This was great. Thanks
So
everyone for
fun.
coming.
Yes, thank
Um,
you all. It's nice to see those of you that I know, and thank you for dropping your comments and questions in the chat. There's a lot that's up for debate. There's a lot we don't know. That's part of the fun.
yeah. So if this was your first time and you had fun today, we'll be back on September 4th to look at LJS 419, which is right here. We know for sure
Yay.
that this is a real 15th century Italian herbal. And you can
But
just
so's a Voynich
reuse the
manuscript.
link. You can reuse the link and the password that you have now. So I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye and have a good couple of weeks. And thank you again, Lisa. Thank you, Amy,
Thanks,
for all your
Amy,
help.
for your help. Bye, everyone.
And
Great to
bye.
see you. Bye.